There's one phrase that comes out of the mouths of politicians and our elected officials which puts their incompetence on full display. And I'm sure you've heard it said before, many times. Words matter, especially when spoken by our leaders, our elected officials, our police chiefs, politicians. And when these individuals, when they say this one thing, which I'm going to share with you, and so many of them say it, in my opinion, they're finished. They're no longer a voice for the people and are no longer fit to lead. Whenever there's a senseless act of violence in your city or your county or your country, and I'm talking about mass shootings, acts of terror such as driving vehicles into crowds of people, I hate even bringing that up, burning down places of worship, or even smaller acts where nobody's physically hurt, but psychologically it messes with them and their mind health. That's often when community leaders, politicians, when they decide to come together, sometimes all at the same time for a media event or a press release. You see politicians waiting in line. They can't wait to condemn the violence. Mayors, city councilors, police chiefs. And if the tragedy is big enough, maybe even the prime minister or the president. Or maybe I shouldn't say if the tragedy is big enough, because even if it is large, but it doesn't fit the narrative or the agenda of the leader, the person in charge, right at the top, they might not show up at all. Anyways, I digress. But after these tragedies, this is when you hear them say, this is not who we are as a people. This is not the country we know and love. This is not who we are as Canadians. This is not who we are as Americans. This is not reflective of our values as a people. Those phrases, they make great sound bites and highlights for social media, but when they keep repeating it time and time again, then they're basically in denial. And if you're in denial, then you're not going to admit that there's a problem, a much bigger problem. And then you're not going to do anything about it, are you? You're not facing reality. When politicians default to the "this is not who we are" position, it shows denial. Denial leads to inaction. Leaders who keep spouting that same nonsense, they're out of touch with reality and they're no longer fit to lead. So move along. But when you don't move along and when you refuse to acknowledge or take action, then guess what? The citizens you serve, they'll take action. They're not going to sit around and be victims, wait to be victims. While you're making feel-good speeches, make sure you don't forget that dramatic pause for effect. You have an obligation to the people who elected you. They put their trust in you, and they deserve it. Words matter, but actions matter more. There's big changes and elections on the horizon. Let's demand more than empty words and push for real action. Please share your thoughts. Let's have an honest conversation about how we can move forward together, and maybe we'll see some real action. Be safe out there, look after one another, and perhaps we will see you again.